How you doing? This is Dr. Rashawn Ray, and this is my daily thought. Yesterday, some of my sociology colleagues had the chance to talk on a USA Today story about All Lives Matter versus Black Lives Matter and why that's problematic. That's what I want to talk about today. And Dr. Carla Shedd, who is a professor at Columbia University in sociology, she said that using All Lives Matter compared to Black Lives Matter is erasing the vulnerability of and dehumanization of Black people. Dr. Joe Fagan, who is a professor of sociology at Texas A&M, said that white people are using the All Lives Matter phrase to ignore the Black Lives Movement, which is already about liberty and justice for all. I want to expand on this a bit by talking about this simple topic, and it won't even take me that long because it's really not that deep. It's really not. Saying all lives matter does not acknowledge the historical and current realities that Black lives are not valued the same as white lives. Unfortunately, this is an empirical fact. Black lives are not given the same social esteem. They're regarded as being inferior, less savable, and less worthy of empathy. Black lives are unable to take advantage of the unconditional freedoms promised in the U.S. Constitution. So by saying Black Lives Matter, it intuitively includes all lives because Black lives are the ones that historically and currently are less likely to matter. Now, there are several metaphors to make this point. I think the one about cancer is pretty important. Simply because we have an event in support of, say, stopping colon cancer or rectal cancer or liver cancer doesn't mean that we aren't also concerned about breast cancer and other forms of cancer. It does mean, however, that at this particular time, we need to focus on this particular issue. And what would be even more preposterous is if people who did not have cancer made comments like, well, everyone matters, not just people with cancer, right? And so what's interesting is if people make comments like cancer isn't that bad, that everyone has the same likelihood of getting sick, that's even more sinister and more irresponsible. And that's what people are doing when they say all lives matter. It's like saying, well, I mean, of course cancer is bad, but I mean, everybody gets sick. I mean, I get the flu, or I've had a broken bone before, or my knees are sore after I run. They are not the same, right? Everyone does not have the same risk. Saying all lives matter is assuming that everyone has an equal propensity to have the same amount of risk, and everyone is not equally at risk. And that's what Black Lives Matter is highlighting. And accordingly, Black Lives Matter has one central plea: stop killing and brutalizing us. What Black Lives Matter highlights is not just the killing of Black bodies by police officers, but the experiences of Blacks at the hands of the state more broadly. And to those who say, well, Blacks are more likely to do something criminal when engaging with police, this goes against research on stop and frisk police conduct in New York City. For example, there was a large study that you could actually look up that found that Blacks compared to whites, while Blacks were more likely to be stopped, frisked, and physically harmed, they were actually less likely to have contraband on them or have a previous criminal record. Because part of the reason why they were being stopped had to do with implicit bias. And you say, what are the percentages we are talking about? That nearly 98% of the people stopped were doing nothing wrong. They were not committing a crime, and yet they were brutalized, they were terrorized, they were victimized. And that is what people don't necessarily realize. Where, interestingly, the whites who were stopped, while a much lower percentage of whites were stopped, they were actually more likely to have something on them. Maybe that's because police officers are paying attention to other indicators of crime besides skin tone and race. So altogether, individuals across racial and ethnic lines who support Black Lives Matter do not hate white people. We hate oppression. We do not hate police. We hate police brutality. And so on that note, that's my daily thought. And accordingly, people have been telling me that I'm not too good at publicizing and doing other things. So I'm also on Twitter at Sociologist Ray. You can look that up and follow some of the other things that I have going on.